Well, Democrats are freaking out that what President Trump is doing with his executive orders and his orders to slash the federal government budget and personnel is a constitutional crisis. Their argument is that he does not have the power to, say, close a federal agency or choke off their budgets or offer people early retirement or a furlough. They keep going to the courts to stop his orders, and they are largely getting their way with stays, meaning that the judges are ordering the president to either stop or fight this in court. Well, Lionel is going to join us today. He is going to discuss this from the Lionel Nation YouTube channel. He's a prosecutor and a constitutional expert, and he will break it down for us. So, Lionel, yes or no, does the president have the constitutional right to do this?
Absolutely, 100%. And they're not even claiming he doesn't. They're asking for a temporary restraining order. Think of it as a Hail Mary, just anything. So normally what a judge will do is they'll say, can you show me irreparable harm, some immediate damage, something that we have to stop or theoretically cease what is happening? Yes, okay, we'll stop this. We'll look at this. I'll give you until Friday, and then all of this is going to go bye-bye because it is absolutely, positively within the purview, constitutional and otherwise, of Article 2 jurisdiction for the president to do this. Now, what I'd like you two great folks to remember is during World War II, there was an incredible group of people who cracked the Enigma code. You might have remembered this. This was Alan Turing. And they went and they took housewives and people who liked crossword puzzles and just regular folks that they enlisted. Now, this was, of course, the military, but this has been going on since the beginning of time. If you have a particular expertise in something, you can be hired, deputized, officiated. You can be an agent of the government. There is nothing at all. What is the difference between, I'm not kidding, Elon Musk and an FBI agent? Nothing. He's appointed. So this is going nowhere. It is, and the very fact, dear friends, that they are screaming, it goes back to that adage, you only take flack when you're over the target. So keep up the great work.
AOC, of course, there's sound bites have been resurrected of her. I'm sure you saw this week where she was shouting, basically telling President Biden, basically ignore the courts. And so that might come back to bite her in the behind because now they're playing the same sort of lawfare in reverse. So should President Trump and his administration simply ignore the courts? Can they do that?
Well, not ignore them, but this isn't going anywhere. This is going to be just a temporary. In fact, one of the judges had a very interesting question or a point. They said, if you're talking about immediately ceasing and eliminating and interrupting, let's say, payments to members of a particular agency, that might prove problematic. And the judge quipped. He said, it's one thing for you to shut down an operation in Syria versus Bethesda. So, yeah, maybe that's a very good point. But the president is saying, look, I've got 1,000 things going on at the same time. We will wait for you to deal with this. But afterwards, no court is going to be able to basically say you have to dismantle DOGE. Now, here's the question for you two. If you are are these judges corrupt? Let's really get down to it. Are these lefties, are these Obama appointed, are they corrupt? If I'm a corrupt judge and I'm some guy who just slipped in and maybe I've got a daughter working for, the education department and I'm like one of these New York judges, I'm one of those folks whose daughter is paid millions to campaign and to politic for whatever. What can I do? Well, I can do a lot to a point, but here's the worst part. I am granted so much leeway that is not illegal. Remember, look what our lawfare just put this president through. We had the Supreme Court who came up in the Griswold case in 1965 and created privacy. What people don't understand is if I'm crazy, I mean a nut, and I am evil and crazy and a lefty, and I want to use the Constitution or the law to hurt or to harm, I have absolute, almost plenary leeway to do it because I'm given so much discretion. A judge could sit there and say, I think Doge should be shut down. And then they got to wait, and then they're going to go to a court of appeals, and then the court of appeals is going to do it. But here's the good part. This is very important. The court, the president, does not have to necessarily stop while he addresses the case. During the Vietnam War, there were some cases. I think William O. Douglas was one of the justices who ruled that a particular bombing plan or something that the government was doing, that Nixon was doing, was wrong. They didn't stop the war. They didn't stop military action while the Supreme Court figured this thing out. They can say, I'll take this under advisement, but that doesn't necessarily mean things cease. So the good news is, don't worry about this. Don't worry about this.
Doesn't seem that Trump is worried very much, right?
No.
Yeah, he seems to not be lashing out. He doesn't. He just keeps going. I have a question, though.
Yes,
go ahead.
No, Natalie.
Okay.
You had when we had spoke yesterday. You had sent me something. The most deranged people are judicial and legal academics. These are the people who they've never tried a case in their life. They've never had a client. They live in this lofty world of I don't know where, and they say things that make absolutely no sense. And we were talking about one in particular, where these judges, specifically Samantha Power's husband, Cass Sunstein. Remember years ago, this cognitive infiltration, where he, as a law professor, along with another Judge Rule, came up with this idea in almost a law review program, suggested that the government should actually infiltrate in order to stop conspiracy theories, to go into chat rooms and to supply basically misinformation. This is from a law professor. This is Samantha Power's husband, who, by the way, is going to have to explain. Well, they do
that.
Oh, yes. And also, I want to hear, while we're on this subject, where'd you get that $30 or $40 million from? Where did that come from? So this is going to be the least of their problems, this particular Doge case. Let me say something. In my career of doing this for 8 years professionally from talk radio, I can't keep track of everything that's going on every 5 minutes. Can you?
Yeah.
Just as you post something, it's over with. That's old news. It's at a breakneck speed, and I love it.
I know we went from plastic straws to ending aid in Ukraine to getting people FEMA housing in North Carolina to, you can't keep up with it.
And Google is taking down gay and DEI and black pride. Google!
Yeah.
Google!
Yeah, what?
I know. It's wild. Okay, here's a question also that I see screamed a lot on X, that the power of the purse is only with Congress, and Trump does not have the power to squeeze budgets, shrink any government agency. What does the Constitution say about that? What is the ultimate authority?
Well, of course he can do that. And by the way, let me add something, which is another little thing here. Of course the president can. You mean to tell me the president has no say over the FBI, CIA, the military? Yes, there is funding by virtue of Congress, but as long as the president does not directly overrule something that Congress has provided for, he's within his purview. So, but let me throw in another one, and I want everybody to grasp this. You know how we got into the deep state, the police state, intel state, shadow government, ruling class? Ladies and gentlemen, meet the administrative state. This is what we have been afraid of since the days of FDR, where I, as a corrupt government, say, I can't do this, but I can appoint USAID, a bureaucratic behemoth that can do whatever it wants with plenary power, no constitutional consideration whatsoever, no oversight, and I can say, oh, I'm sorry, it's not me, it's FEMA, it's USAID. The same way that the government used Twitter and other social media platforms to quash and to limit your free speech so that the government could say, oh, no, it's not us. This is a private entity. oh no, this is an agency. Oh no, it's not us. This is going to be the end of the administrative state. This is something that we have been talking about forever.
I hope so, and I hope it goes as far as these NGOs as well, these non-governmental organizations that get all of this phony money that's funneled through the bureaucratic administrative state to Catholic charities, the Hebrew International Aid Society, all of these corrupt NGOs that were involved in child sex trafficking operations and everything else that you and I have been paying for, by the way. Lionel from Lionel Nation, always great to see you. It's constitutional. I guess that's the bottom line.
Absolutely.
Constitutional.
And it's the way you're describing it like a fly in the ointment. The way I see it on X is like a sledgehammer. So we just have to get through it. We just have to let it play itself out, I guess.
Texas GM in our chat says, I'm part of Lionel Nation. We love this guy. We love Lionel. Lionel, great to see you. Thank you, Lionel. Great to see you as always. Thanks so much, Lionel.
Thank you.
All right. Well, that's good to know. I mean, I know.